Hello students. Uh, Today's lecture we will start about the next topic, ecological grouping of plants. Firstly, what is mean by ecological group? The surrounding of environment in which the organisms lives is called as habitat of particular organisms. The plants and animals usually grow and occur in a group, and the group of plants and animals which grow under the same set of environment factor, and this is called as the ecological group. Means the plant as well as the plant group or the animals group, they are grow under the same set of environment factor, and this is called as the ecological group. And there is the interrelationship between an organisms and environment. On the basis of water requirement, plants are classified into four major groups. First one is the hydrophytes, then mesophytes, xerophytes, and halophytes. The hydrophytes is called as the also called as the aquatic plants, means the plants living in large amount of water. Then in mesophytes means is also called as the terrestrial plants, means the plants that survive in normal water conditions, and these mesophytic plants is the occupy an intermediate position between hydrophytes and xerophytes. Then xerophytes means the plants which live in the scarcity of water. Then halophytes, the plants which grow on saline soils and high concentrations of salt. So these all groups are classified in this topic. Now let's start the first group is the hydrophytes. The hydrophytes are plants that live in abundance of water or in wet places. There are either partially or They are either partially or whole submerged in water, and they are in wet place, and their roots or rhizomes are exposed to sufficient water. On the basis of relationship of water as well as air, they are classified into various groups like free floating hydrophytes, floating but rooted hydrophytes, submerged but not rooted hydrophytes, submerged and rooted hydrophytes, amphibians hydrophytes, and emerged root hydrophytes. So first one is the free floating hydrophytes. The floating hydrophytes means they float freely on the surface of water, means the plants are freely on the surface of float on the surface of water, and they remain in contact with water and air only, and the roots are not required for survival, means there is a no connection exists the soil. Their example and their leaf structure is very large, and the example is the azolla, ecornia, pistia. Then next is the floating but rooted hydrophytes, means some plants they are the these plants grow in a shallow water, and their root are fixed in underwater soil, means the roots in free floating hydrophytes, their roots are not functional, but in floating but rooted hydrophytes are their roots are attached to underwater soil, and the leaves are long petioles, and these are helps to plant to float the surface of water, and these leaves float on surface and capture the sunlight to performing the photosynthesis process. And their example is Nymphia, Nelumbo, Trappa, etc. Then submerged floating hydrophytes. The entire plants remains submerged in water and root in soils. For example, hydrilla. The hydrilla, their stem is weak. Their leaves is the small, and in Vacillanaria the stem is the tuberous and the leaves are the cauline. Then next is the amphibians hydrophytes or marginal hydrophytes. These plants grow in shallow water. They require excess water, and their shoots are exposed to air. and their example is the Sagittaria as well as ranunculus and these Sagittaria and ranunculus shoots are partially in water and partially emerged above the water surface. The external features of hydrophytes. In external features, their root system is entirely absent, and in certain plants their root hairs are absent, and if present they are poorly developed. Then their stem, their stem is generally reduced. The stem is the delicate, spongy as well as the inflexible. Then petiole, the petiole is very long, delicate, for example in Ecornia for floating on water surfaces, and then the leaves. The leaves in for example in Hydrilla and Vaccinaria, the leaves are variously dissected in submerged plants, and the surface of floating leaves with waxy coating. um, then the leaves are the heterophilous. And one example, for example, the Hydrilla. Their external characters of Hydrilla, their root, the root is the abundance of water. Due to abundance of water, means due to large amount of waters, the roots are poorly developed, means not very well developed. That's why the roots are not performing the function. Then stem. The stem is the weak, spongy, delicate as well as the flexible. Then there are leaves. The leaves are the smaller in size and they are the reduced in size. Then internal characters or internal structures of Hydrilla. First one is the epidermis. There is the epidermis is the outermost single layers. Their cuticle is the absent, and a few layers of epidermis, they are compact, and parenchymatous means the parenchymatous cells are the present. Now the next is the air space or parenchyma. The cortex are occupies most part of sections, and there is made up of large air chambers, and these large air chambers are called as the parenchyma, and these air chambers are separated from one another by partitions called as the diaphragms. Then next is the endodermis. The distinct endodermids and pericycles are the present, and the vascular bundles means xylem as well as the phloems are present, and this vascular system is extremely reduced, and most of tissue is phloem, and xylem is represented on large in the center. Now the next example is the Ecornia. In Ecornia, their external characters, their roots are their root systems is the adventitious as well as the fibrous root systems, and these branches are hair like and root packets, but roots are not in contact with organic soils. Then the stems. The stem is the modified into offset, means there is the stem is the reduced and modified into offset, which is the thick, spongy and made up of one internodes, and it serves as the mode of vegetative reproductions, means it is the useful for to vegetative reproductions. Then leaves or lamina. These leaves are the rosette process. These leaves, they are the rosette process, and possess flat, smooth, shining lamina with multicostate and venations swollen by petiole. Then internal characters of Ecornia. There is the first layers is the outer is the epidermis. First is the epidermis. The epidermis is the wax coated and interrupted by raised stomata. Then in a epidermis, there are the in a hypodermis, there are the chloranchimatous cells are present. Then in air chambers, the air chambers are present. Air chambers are transversed by air diaphragms, and they give and the functions of air chamber is to mechanical supports. Then inner just below the epidermis, air chambers, the inner cortex are present, and their inner cortex are 2 to 3 layers are the presents. Then the endodermis, as well as the pericycles are present, and xylem and phloems are also present. So these are the first group in the ecological group of adaptations. Okay, thank you.